This is Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture's Wednesday webinar, Ag Law Offerings. Our presenter today is Paul Geringer, Extension Legal Specialist with the Department of Agricultural and Resource Economics at University of Maryland. All archived presentations, along with all upcoming presentations, can be found at our website. And a special thank you to our sponsors. Since this presentation is pre-recorded, Paul's contact information is provided, and all questions can be sent directly to him. Thank you for listening.
All for showing up today. My name is Paul Geringer, and I'm the Extension Legal Specialist with the University of Maryland. And we're going to talk today about some of the legal resources available in the Mid-Atlantic with this Women in Ag webinar. So I'd like to thank the Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag group for giving us the opportunity to kind of talk about some of the legal resources that are available in this. And I do apologize. I tried uploading this as my PowerPoint and it wouldn't work, so I converted it to a PDF, so it's going to look a little weird as we go through. Some of the animations may not work as good, but it's still there, so it works. But we'll talk a little bit more about the Ag Law Education Initiative, but this came about in 2013. I'll give you a little bit more history on it. Or 2012 here in a minute, but it is a partnership between College Park, where I'm located, University of Maryland School of Law, and then the UMES here on the Eastern Shore. And we have a website. I'll talk about some of the things available on it. Social media I won't talk about as much. And then we do have an email address that I will encourage you, if you have suggestions for us, to email into from time to time. We're funded by the University of Maryland's Empowering the State program, which basically brings together College Park and Baltimore to sort of create collaborative partnerships and develop unique programs out there. So we're probably one of the only ones you will hear of. We're sort of the only extension program out there currently. I'm not giving any legal advice, so I don't know why I kept the disclaimer in there, but we'll continue on. So in 2012, the Maryland General Assembly sort of directed the University of Maryland system to sort of leverage resources to develop some sort of program to assist farmers in this lofty goal of, with estate and trust issues, compliance with environmental laws, and all other matters necessary to preserve family farms. And out of this came this group, the Ag Law Education Initiative. Out of this, we kind of done a needs assessment to figure out what some of the goals are and what we should be working on. And we'll talk about some of what's come out of that here on the next couple of slides. So we really began work about 2 years ago around this time. And in that time, you know, we've developed sort of 17 different publications by my count on the website. And it's sort of growing. I'll talk about some that are out there that will be coming out hopefully this year. We've developed the website. We've sort of worked on developing videos, webinars, and sort of the social media. We're really going to talk about sort of the first three on here available today. I need to bring my pointer in. Maybe that'll stop me from destroying the slides. But we'll talk about the website, social media, webinars, videos, and then some other resources available to you in the Mid-Atlantic and across the nation. And like I say, today we're going to sort of cover who the members are, what the resources are that are available, and, you know, sort of other legal resources that may be available. Pointer, kind of go down. So, you know, my background and looking at some of the members is, you know, I'm from Oklahoma originally. Somehow I ended up in Maryland. I'm still not exactly sure how I ended up here, but I'm here. It's a fun place to work. I have a law degree and an LLM in ag law. Also working out of College Park with me is Ashley Ellickson. You may have known her as Newhall at one point. She recently got married and decided to change her last name, which is confusing me into remembering her new last name. She grew up on a dairy in Arizona and also has a law degree. And her interests sort of, and joined in 2014, and her areas of specialty are sort of water quality and quantity issues with the law, farm protection laws, which are also known as ag-gag laws, property law issues, and then just general ag law issues that come up. Our next person in here is Sarah Everhart. She works out of the Carey School of Law and is located here on the Eastern Shore. She grew up in Delaware, has a degree from Washington College here in Maryland, and is a graduate of the Pace Law School in New York. Before coming into this, she was in private practice here in Maryland for a few years and joined in December of 2014. So she's been with us just a little over a year, and her area of expertise is land use, estate planning, land preservation, and general ag law issues. At UMES, we have Waylay and Longway. She also joined in 2014. As you can tell, we had a lot of people join in 2014. It was no longer just me. She comes in with an international background and a lot more international ag law issues. She's also a PhD student at UMES, and and along with her at UMES, we have an ag economist, Stefan Tubinet, who also works with us there. I don't have a slide up on Stefan, but Stefan also works with us there at UMES. Also, finally joining us from College Park, we recently brought on Meha Suri. Meha is a recent graduate of AG&R and has an environmental science and policy background. She worked for Maryland Department of Agriculture, and I'm going to talk about here in a minute one of the big projects she worked on while she was a student with us. But she has just recently started working full-time for us. So she is not a lawyer, but she brings in a different background, which is really helpful in the project. We also have a law student at Carey working on the project as well. And now I'll sort of go into some of the resources available. And please feel free to ask me questions if you have any as we go along. So our main resource is this umaglaw.org website. If I can make this full screen, this might look a little bit better. It doesn't. So I'll go back to the normal way of doing it. So up here you can see, we have different tabs set up here. We have a publications tab right here. Here we have a legal resource references tab. We have a video tab, and I'm going to talk about each one of these individually. I'm just trying to give you an idea what the website looks like. The main one I wanted to point out is we've started redeveloping our quarterly newsletter. We've done 2 so far. If you're interested in anything I talk about or want to learn about the new things, there is a sign-up spot right there. If you forget how to get to our social media, they're right there, easy to find. Contact info for all of us is right up here. So the main thing I want to talk about today, and this is more of the resources that are available to you that you may want to utilize. So we have up there, like I said, 17 different publications. We have an Understanding Ag Liability series from Maryland where we talk everything about premise liability. So if you're bringing customers in on the farm, what could happen if somebody gets hurt while they're on the farm, if you have livestock on the farm, and not just if they get hurt, the customers, but what if somebody's trespassing on the farm and gets hurt. Other areas that we're potentially looking at too are livestock liability. So if you have livestock, what's the liability if one of them gets out, one of them bites someone that comes on the farm, depending on what it is. If you have to put fences up to keep the livestock in, what's the liability issues? If fences, are not kept in good repair. And along with that, we sort of put out this one on Maryland's right to farm law and looking at that. And then we put out one just sort of taking into consideration all the questions you may have after reading each one of these is how do I go about, limiting some of my risk involved in this and what's the best way to go about doing that. So we put this together, this legal risk management considerations one, which has a lot of different views of attorneys and other people involved in it as sort of how do you go about limiting these liabilities as we go along. We also have this Ag Labor series, which sort of has a general overview of ag labor laws. Sarah has put together one on migrant and seasonal workers, which has come out within the past month or so. She's also working on one, and it should be out later this year, on interns on the farm, hiring interns. So if any of you are looking at using interns on your farm, this will be a good area to look at, looking at how Maryland and federal labor law treats those people. Other publications, one of the main areas when we were started to look at was estate planning. So we updated some of the prior existing estate planning publications. So there's a general overview up there, conservation easements and how that can fit into estate planning. And then at the same time, if you're looking at conservation easements, how can that play into capital gains taxes? And on top of that, we have some sort of novel areas that we look at too. So we have, microbreweries, privacy issues with drones. So farmers may be looking at branching out to adopting a microbrewery on the farm. Maryland had just enacted some legislation which allows this. So how do you go about qualifying for all that? If you're looking at adopting a drone on the farm, and not only you adopting it, but other people potentially flying it over your farm, what are some of the privacy issues, and do you have, any ability to limit drones on the property? And sort of finishing this up, we have ag leasing, government coming on the property. Many people have questions, when can, government inspectors come on the farm? When is that exactly allowed? And Sarah has tried to answer that question. Ashley and I put together a business organization sort of overview of the different structures you can use in the farm, trying to give folks an idea as to when some of them might be useful and when they may not be useful. Questions on seed saving often come up, so that is also available up there as well. And we have others in development as well. Food safety regs have just come out here within the past 2 months, so Sarah and Ashley have worked hard to get a publication ready to go once everything is finalized with them. They're working on a couple of water law publications, such as how do you go about getting a permit to utilize groundwater for irrigation purposes, and then sort of what are some of the liability issues for stormwater runoff in certain cases. Looking, pesticide drift is another one, defenses to some of the negligence issues we brought up in the Understanding Ag Liability series. There's, like I said, one coming out on utilizing interns on the farm, one looking at divorce and how that can impact the farm. The reason I bring all this up is because if you have any other ideas, let us know. I showed you where to find our contact info on the website on that. If you have ideas, please let us know, mainly because it helps us kind of come up with better ideas and what we should be working on. We did a needs assessment when this program first started. My thought on the needs assessment was always, it's a very good snapshot in time at that moment, but things change, especially in the law, to where we may be having to look at something totally different that we didn't expect out of that needs assessment. So letting us know helps us come about. And the microbrewery guide came about because, 3 or 4 farmers came up to us at various meetings and said this would be a really good topic to cover. I just went through, all the hassle of trying to get my farm the licenses to do this, and it would be really helpful probably to other people if they had that knowledge. And that was one that Mayha tackled and did herself and did a really good job at putting it together. Other things up there and other resources available on the website, and I have the links in here if they're not exactly on the website as to where you can find them. We do have sample farm leases, which was probably one of the first things that was made available as a part of this project, and those are on Shannon's grain marketing website. So if you need to use a written cash lease, written crop share lease, written termination letter if you want to get out of a farmland lease. Oh, I see a question. Sorry, I was not paying attention. Liability. We are working on one on liability for agritourism. I will point out when we get to the videos, we have videos available on that. But we probably do need to work on a publication kind of laying that out in more detail. Another area that has come up in Maryland, which was a concern of the Maryland Department of Agriculture, was a lot of farmers were running CSAs, and then because of drought or some sort something out of their control. They may not be able to supply the CSA members with produce as the agreement said they would, or what the members thought they would be given it. And then Maryland Department of Agriculture was getting concerned. So the concern was that there weren't good written agreements out there. So we do have a sample membership agreement out there. It's on the extension website. Along with that, we have a guidebook kind of explaining, the thoughts as to why various sections went into the membership agreement. You can look at the membership agreement if you're running a CSA. Most CSA farmers have looked at us and said it's too long, but the reason it's too long is we tried to put everything in it, and you can kind of cut it down as you need to and make it work for your farm. Along with that, we did a webinar series. This was a part of a grant, so we did a webinar series kind of laying out sort of the membership agreements as well, so you can watch those webinars as well. Other things that are up there, if I can go back up. Ashley and an attorney here in Maryland worked together to develop a liability checklist and a generic liability waiver. So if you are running an agritourism operation, you do have at least the ability to look at what a liability waiver should look like. We set it up to where you have to go through the checklist, or at least look at the checklist before you can look at the waiver, because it was kind of, we wanted you to at least start thinking about the liability issues on your own farm before you started just filling out a generic waiver and putting it together. One other area that had come up many times was beginning farmers were looking for abilities to lease existing poultry houses, and there really is, from what we could tell out there, no good lease form for a poultry house. So Sarah took it upon herself and kind of developed a very nice poultry house lease form that is also available. And these are all available on our website if you just click on the Forms tab on the home page. So if you have other ideas on forms, please let us know. Like I said, it's one way that we can at least keep in mind what we should be doing and what we should be working on, and try to create materials that at least work for you guys. Videos, this was an area we sort of started in last year. We started working with Queen Anne's County Television in Centerville to help produce some of these and do the recording and the editing of them. But the idea is to provide with a 5-10 minute video, knowing that people probably aren't going to pay attention to the whole thing, but people also may not want to read a whole publication. They may want a short video covering the topic as quickly as they can. But we have covered leasing issues, various leasing issues that have come up since the leasing book was done 2 or 3 years ago. We have done a series on liability, at least looking at agritourism and how can you potentially limit it. How can you utilize a liability waiver? How do agritourism statutes interact in that? There have been some labor videos done. Ashley and Sarah did a water law series. Ashley and I did a business organization series. So we took all the business organization structures and kind of laid them out in about 2 to 3 minute videos for each, discussing why you would potentially want to use each one of them. You can find them on our videos tab, or you can go to Vimo/UMAgLaw, and that takes you to our Vimo page. The only ones that really aren't up there is if we did them with Queen Anne's County Television. They're on YouTube, and we have them a YouTube tab on our homepage that you can click on, and it will take you to them. I don't know what our YouTube direct link is. YouTube doesn't allow you to do the nice short links like Vimo does. Other resources are webinars. We do try to do webinars, not as consistently as Women in Ag do, but we began offering these sort of in 2015. They sort of grew out of the fact that, I was working with the legal specialist at Oklahoma State who had a lot of good resources available in estate planning, labor, and environmental law issues, and it wasn't, conducive to bring him out here to do a meeting, but it was conducive to put him on to do a webinar, and we sort of started doing them that way, and we've sort of grown that into where when court cases are decided that potentially impact Maryland and other issues or changing regulations like with the food safety issue, we try to put together a webinar and try to bring in speakers from outside of our area of expertise to be able to discuss the issue and present it to you. So, we also record those and make them available on the same website on that Vimeo channel. We also have a listserv. If you're interested, you can email me after this and I'll put you on the listserv. And also, if you have topics that you think would be good for a webinar, please let us know. It would be helpful to have some ideas as to what producers would want to hear there. We usually try to make them very, not generic in the information, but we try to make it very understandable for producers to sign into the webinar and attorneys to sign in to at least get a background on the information. We have a couple coming up on March 3rd if you're looking at data ownership issues. So farms, if they have yield monitors or any of the other equipment that's gathering data, there's sort of some questions as to who owns that data once it goes up into the cloud, and it's not as easy of an issue to address as one might think. It's very easy to tell you who owns, as I'm staring at my computer, it's very easy to tell you who owns my computer because I can physically hold it in my hand. But data is something harder because I can't physically hold it in my hand, and it can exist outside the bounds of what we normally think of with property. But we have, speaking on that, we'll have Terry Griffin, who is the cropping systems economist at K-State, and then Shannon Farrell and Ashley are both legal specialists who will help us sort of address some of those issues as well. And then we have a Right to Farm update webinar coming on. There's been a lot of changes with court cases and state constitutional rights to farm, and how is all of that impacting how these laws have traditionally been applied, and what are some areas that people should be aware of as to how they may impact the way agriculture is changing in the country. The other resource available for people, so if you can't search the internet, you don't have access to high-speed internet, you don't have to do that. And I should go back and say one thing we're going to do this year with these, I think, is we're going to work with some of the county extension offices here in Maryland to sort of offer, either some sort of food budget or something to where if you don't have access to high-speed internet, you may be able to come into the local extension office and watch them, and we at least provide you with something potentially to eat, or maybe just a spot to bring a brown bag lunch in that way. It's been an idea we've been kicking around for a while. The other area, this came about when we first started, when we were talking to people, they said, farmers needed a phone number to call into, to ask questions to, and to get, access to information on. So we do have this info line service. You call in, it goes to the Cary School of Law. Sarah is the one who answers it, and I think I forgot the agent, Sarah's name. But we all sort of help out on that. We can't provide legal advice, but mainly thing we can do is direct you to legal resources in the area. That is the phone number up there. It's also the phone number that's up on the front page of our website. So if you don't write it down today, and I think Victoria is going to post these PowerPoints online, so you will have access to find it later. And one neat thing about the info line, and I don't think anybody with Maryland Farm Bureau is on the webinar today because they're all at their national meeting this week, but when RFD TV on one of their news shows was doing a deal where they called in to all the 50 state Farm Bureau presidents, and this was one of the services that they touted off that made Maryland unique, that we were one of the few states that offered this for farmers to call into. So it is something for you to utilize. It's probably the most underutilized service we offer in the project. The final thing we offer that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about services from the Maryland State Bar and then other resources that are available to you, are the Maryland Risk Management Education blog, which began about 1.5 years ago. It's not just an AELI project. It's sponsored through mine and Ashley's department, the Ag and Resource Economics department. It's also sponsored by the Maryland Crop Insurance Education Program, which I'm also a part of, and then the Ag Law Education Initiative. And the goal with it is just to cover short issues such as, short legal issues, updates on crop insurance, farm bill issues on the site. Not every issue is worthy of a publication. Some are real easy to answer in less than 1,000 words, so we try to put them up there. It's very difficult to see, but I'll find the arrow again. Right up here at the very top, when you go there, you'll see this bar. That is a search bar. You can type in, any sort of keywords you start thinking about, and it will try to bring up some topics. The other thing you can do is right here. On the side, there's a sign-up sheet, so you can sign up, and it will automatically update you and send you an update to your email whenever new material comes up. We try to post about 2 or 3 times a week on the site. So with all of this, the area that the bar comes into place, we work a lot with the Maryland State Bar Association because we can't be attorneys. So you're potentially going to need an attorney out of all of this. So as a part of this, and with some help from some other people, the Maryland State Bar Association has formed a section on ag law for the State Bar Association. It currently has over 200 members, all self-selected, saying they have some interest in ag law. And we have a directory available through the Maryland State Bar Association that kind of lists those members out, where they're located, and sort of their areas of expertise that they say they can at least do in agriculture. We're working on some stuff to help you, if you need an attorney, be able to better, question the attorney and interview the attorney, so you don't get one, you get one that you can work with and you're not shocked when you come into it. That directory is online. I apologize if you do not have high-speed internet. It is a large PDF file and it may take a while to download. My eventual goal is to get it to where it is a quick form online where you can type in either, where you're at and located at, and names pop up. So it's a little more efficient, a little more user-friendly format than it currently is now. And with that, the last little bit I want to talk about, and if you have questions, please type them in, are some of the other legal resources that are available to you across the country, because Maryland's not the only one sort of doing this. There are resources available throughout the country to kind of help and kind of educate you on some of the issues that are affecting agriculture. First I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to cover the ones close by in, the Big Ten. Since Maryland is now a part of the Big Ten, I felt like I should be loyal to the Big Ten Conference and talk about those resources. The first one is at Penn State, since it's the closest. They have a Center for Agriculture and Shale Law. It recently sort of took on the name Shale Law. But they are very good. So if, covering national issues, especially those impacting the Bay. Maryland currently does not have much shale gas production going on, so it may not be an area people need to look at. But especially those impacting the Bay and national issues, it's a good spot to turn to. If we don't have information on it, they may have some information on it to help you. And if they have something that's useful on there, please let us know, because we're, like I said, we're always looking for ideas on things to add to the website. I gotta go back up. The other Big Ten school doing this is Ohio State Center for, they have a Center for Ag Law and Taxation. It's good. They do a lot more on tax than we do. Ashley, myself, and Sarah are not tax experts. It's pretty dangerous when we pretend to be tax experts, but they do a lot of information out there on tax law that we may not have available. And all these tie into sort of the next one I want to talk about. So we have the National Ag Law Center. They're out of the University of Arkansas, and Penn State's Ag Law Center and Ohio State's Ag Law and Taxation program are all a part of a program they have put together called the National, I can't remember what it is, but it's the Food and Ag Law Consortium. So it's those three institutions and the National Sea Grant Law Center have kind of come together to provide a lot more resources available on ag, food, and natural resources law, especially natural resources when it involves fisheries. The National Ag Law Center, the reason I put them up there is mainly if you're looking for a state law, they have a lot of state law compilations up on their website. So if you're looking for Maryland's right to farm law, or you're wondering how to, if Maryland has an agritourism statute, which we don't have, or you're wondering, what does a recreational use statute look like in Maryland, this is the quickest spot to go find them at. They have, you can just click on state law compilations, and I apologize for me not being able to get my PowerPoint up there so you could see this in full screen, but right about here is state law compilations, and my eyesight is halfway good. And you can click on any of those and you can compare and contrast and see, what do you like, or if you need to know what Maryland's law is quickly. The other reason to put them up there is they have these research by topics, so they provide, all the federal laws on, maybe animal welfare, environmental laws, and they also keep a very good list of recent court cases involving those laws. So I put that up there. The other reason is if anybody has heard of Congressional Research Service reports, Congressional Research Service is a service that is for Congress. Congressmen, senators can call in, request information on a topic, and CRS puts together a report for them. Typically, those reports are not publicly available, but outside groups often get their hands on them. Any of them impacting agriculture, the National Ag Law Center has up. They also do a lot of webinars as well that covering a lot of issues. They have a webinar a week from today at noon covering if you want to do legal research on your own and what are some of the resources available for you as well. So you can click on their website and it will take you there. The other sort of national in scope center is the Vermont Law School recently in 2012 launched a Center for Ag and Food Systems. So if you're more of a small scale producer, sustainable, that type of producer, this is a place for you. They're going to have a lot more focused information. They've recently completed, I know, a compilation of all the state gleaning laws and liabilities if you're allowing gleaners on your property to pick up produce and that type of stuff. I think my last two sort of resources available out there to you are, if any of you have ever emailed me and had a question either on labor or direct marketing or that type of stuff, I've typically directed you to Farm Commons. It is a nonprofit run out of the Midwest. They do a really good job at providing free resources available on direct marketing, CSA marketing, labor, especially if you're going to do interns. They also provide a lot of free webinars covering those topics. They're a very good resource to utilize. And I forgot to talk about up at sample forms, one of the areas too that we've heard a concern about is direct marketing. People want a sample direct marketing contract. So Ashley and Sarah and can't remember who else are working on sort of developing a sample contract on that. Rachel has one up on Farm Commons. It's another good site. The other resource is just sort of Texas A&M through their legal specialist has a very good blog covering a lot of legal topics, and that is available there. So I think that's all of my other resources, so I'm just going to kind of wrap this up with one last slide if I can keep it from scrolling all the way down so you can see that this is the last slide. So we do have a lot of resources. It is expanding. You know, we just began 3 years ago, but we are working to get stuff out there. It's an ever-changing area. It's an area where people have a lot of concerns, questions on. So, you know, if you don't see something, you see something on one of the other resources I kind of pointed out to you, please let us know. It's an email account that sort of all of us can check, so it's the best way to reach all of us if you want to hit all of us up for something. But like I said, nationally, there's a lot of resources available to you too. So if we don't have something, you may see it on one of the other websites. And with that,
Thank you for watching our archived presentation of our Wednesday webinar. If you would like to see more archived Wednesday webinars, please visit our YouTube channel. Or to find a schedule of upcoming live webinars, visit our website.